Hello, today we are looking at what it takes to get into the construction field. I am joined by Victoria Messina, who is the president of Lead Construction Services. More on that name in a bit. Victoria, thanks for joining us today.
Thanks for having me, Kurt. I'm excited to talk to you again.
So, unlike in high school, I actually did my homework here, and I see that you have a degree in criminal justice, which leads me to my first question. How did you go from that into construction?
So it's crazy because my entire life I never wanted to be in the construction industry. My family has a construction company. I worked there when I was like 14. I'm like, I don't want to do this. So I decided to do criminal justice. I loved it. I wanted to be a homicide detective. I ended up working for the district attorney's office, and I kind of came to a point where it was like, okay, you either go to law school, which I didn't want to do because I had just finished school, or you find another career path. So I kind of toyed around with the idea, kind of had a couple conversations, with my father, just different people. I said, you know what, let me try this construction thing again and I'll see how it works. And I ended up loving it. And I'm shocked. I guess they say like you grow up and you change and like your likes change, your habits change, everything changes. And I think because I tried it again, I see it differently from a different perspective. And I really love it. I love the industry. I love, just love everything about it.
So, changing gears here a little bit, let's talk about PPE. Pretty much since it was invented, PPE has either been designed for men or as a unisex garment. So, how excited were you to get your very first specifically designed for females high vis vest?
I was so excited. You have no idea. As soon as I saw, I'm like, I have to order this. I have to order it. So I go on the website, I'm placing the order. And I literally, I'm not lying. I waited like every day for the mail to come. I'd run outside, grab it, see if it was in there. The day that it came, I was so excited. I like ripped the box open and I put it on and I had it on for like, I don't know, an hour or two. I walked around with it. I was showing my daughters. I was like, this is the best thing ever. And Fastenal did a great job of designing it because it's tailored to fit women. So like I've been on a construction site and it's a one size fits all kind of vest. And the sleeves are huge. Everything is huge on it. So like I'll be walking and I'll get stuck on like a doorknob, or this is like the perfect fit for women because women's bodies are a lot different than men, and it fits perfectly where I'm not on a job site and I'm thinking, okay, I'm going to get stuck on this. What happens if this happens? And the best part about it is it actually in the back has like a pocket for an iPad, which is great because I mean we don't carry laptops on the job site. Sometimes I carry pen and paper, old school, but most of the time you have an iPad so you can pull up drawings, you can look at things. So I was like, this is great. And the men's vests don't have that. The ones that I've used and I've worn before. So all the guys when I'm on the job site, they're like, wow, like, why do you have that pocket? I'm like, we stepped up in the game, guys. Women's PPE. It's awesome. But I was so excited to get it.
I am glad to hear that it is working out for you. We had partnered, Fastenal has a bodyguard brand, and they partnered with a couple of other industry leaders and really got the ball rolling on this, Flatiron and Radiance being the other two. And they all have worked together to create this. And it was really interesting to hear the feedback because it is very much what you are saying over and over and over. Everybody seems to love these new vests. So
Which is awesome. And then my dad's company, they have a couple females that are out on the job site. And I was telling my dad about them. My dad has a huge general contracting company. And he is actually ordering some for his, females that are out on the site, superintendents, stuff like that. Because I'm like, you have to. The one size fits all, it doesn't work.
no,
And like it's 2021, we have to fit everybody's needs. And if it doesn't work for women, I'm gradually seeing more and more women, not so much on the physical site, but just in the field. And it's nice to know that, Fastenal and other companies are starting to really look out for us and say, hey, there's women here too. We got to make these things so that it works for everybody, not just a one size fits all kind of thing.
I don't think you were trying to, but that is the perfect segue. Thank you very much. I'm going to read off a little snippet here, and you can tell me if you think it's accurate of what you're seeing in the field. But according to the Bureau of Labor Statistics, women are only about 9% of the construction industry. Does that number feel about right to you?
I'm going to say yes and no. So in the construction, office setting, in a, if I'm in an office,
Right.
there are women there, accounting, estimating, which is nice to see. Back in the day when I was growing up, I would walk into my dad's office and I'd see maybe the only woman was an assistant and the secretary up front. Now it's, we have women estimators, we have women accountants, we have women who are project managers and taking on the roles, that we used to see it be men. Out on the site, I still think that number is true, that 9%. I'll be in meetings and I'll see that I'm like 1 in 6 or 1 in 8, and I'm the only female there. So I do think that that 9%, I do only know like one or two females who are superintendents. I don't know if they just don't feel comfortable, assuming that role, if they feel like, that's a man's job or whatever they feel like. But I'm starting to see in the office setting, there are a lot of females. Job sites, I am starting to see it kind of slowly, gradually go up. So definitely that number is a true statement.
Okay, so then what's the hardest part of working in a field where 9 out of 10 workers are men?
Honestly, the hardest part is being out on site or at a job site and there's no bathrooms. We have porta potties. You're out on a job site. You're not going to get this high tech, fancy bathroom as you would if you walked into a restaurant, or, there's no bathrooms that cater to women. So that I think is the hardest part. If I'm out on a site and I'm at a meeting or anything like that, I actually have to leave and, go to a Wawa or go use a restroom somewhere where I know, okay, it'll be fine there. So I think that's honestly like the hardest part about being out in the field. They're obviously not going to make restrooms just for women out on a job site because there's not enough of us. So, I mean, that would be a waste of money. So I think that's one of the hardest parts about being a woman and being out in the field.
I hear you. So, in a typical day, finding a restroom could be a challenge. Tell me about the rest of a typical day for you.
So my days right now are sort of, they're kind of all over the place. I'm in the process of, trying to find work. I am a new startup company. I just got my certifications for a women-owned business, minority-owned business. I'm in the process of getting a couple other certifications. They take a while, and with COVID, everything's been kind of odd and weird. Even the way that construction is working today, it's kind of weird. We just got our first job for Children's Hospital, which I'm really excited about. We're doing a joint venture project with Target Building Construction, which is my dad's company. So it's less pressure. I'm able to start a project from start to finish, see how it works. But I'm not the one that's running it by myself. So it's kind of like, okay, this is how we're going to do it. I'm doing everything for my company, and then everything else is Target's role. So my days are they're kind of chaotic, and it's a good chaos though, because I'm doing the walkthroughs, I'm doing the estimating, I'm doing the accounting, the project management, I'm taking classes. So yeah, it's kind of crazy, but it's a good crazy.
So, criminal justice doesn't have a lot of overlap with construction. Is that what you're telling me?
Not at all.
Oh,
Some
okay.
of the laws, that are in play a role,
Okay.
but yeah. Like total opposite ends of the spectrum here.
Well, you mentioned the diversity piece of that as a female owner, as a diversity owner. What role can diversity play in construction?
I think that we offer just that piece to the puzzle where people have been doing construction and they've been, doing jobs for so long, and this is how it's always been. And for somebody to come in, a female or a minority or, whatever, to come into the picture and be like, but hey, what if we tried it this way? You guys have been doing it this way for so long, but what if it would work also this way? So I think we offer that, just a piece of the puzzle that may not have been included, but it could also fit.
And I promised earlier that we would talk about Lead's name. So tell us a little bit about how that came to be.
First of all, choosing a name for a company is the most difficult thing ever, because you really have to think about, is there any other companies that have this similar name? Is it going to sound weird? How's it going to look on a logo? How is it going to look, on a website, on a banner? So I was sitting down and my husband and I were brainstorming, just trying to think, okay, what do we need something simple. something that somebody's not going to say, okay, what does that mean? How do you say that? How do you spell that? So we both kind of just were playing around, and I'm thinking, I have two daughters. I have three children, but two of my children are females. I said, eventually, I want to get to a point where my company will be their company. They can take it over. They can feel comfortable stepping into a role where they don't have to feel like, okay, well, this is for boys. No, it's not. It's for women. And, we can do it all plus some. So I started just brainstorming, and I don't know what clicked in my head, but my daughter's names are Leah and Adriana. So I took the first two letters from Leah, which was the LE, and she's my oldest, ironically, and then the first two letters from Adriana, which are AD, and I put them together, and I'm like, oh my God, lead. Like, it's the perfect name.
It
It's
works.
short, it's easy to spell, it works. It's kind of like I'm leading the way for them to a point where they can be like, you know what, we can do this. We see our mom, we see, my dad's in the industry, my husband has been helping out, like everybody. It's kind of a family thing. But for them to see mom, because I'm mom. So at the end of the day, like, I leave work, I go home, I'm doing laundry, I'm packing lunches. My husband helps, but he works as well. So it's just crazy that they see it, and I just want them to see that, like, you can do whatever you put your mind to. It's not a man's world like it used to be. It's not for it can be for anybody, males, females, any race, any, gender, whatever.
I like the idea of the name. I like the story behind it even more. It works. I love it.
I know. And it was crazy the day I just, it just clicked, and I said to my husband, what about lead? And he's like, lead. And I'm like, explaining it to him. He's like, it's perfect.
What's the hardest part of getting into the construction industry?
It takes tough skin. It really does take tough skin to do this. The guys that I work with laugh. They joke, they call it alligator skin, but it really does. You really have to just have a tough mentality just to be able to push through. I'll be on a job site and people are staring at me because I'm a woman. I'm out in the job site, and they're not used to seeing women. And the fact that I'm, the president of my company, I don't want them to look at me and say, okay, well, she's a girl. She doesn't know what she's doing. I might not be able to physically do what you do, but mentally, I can do it. And I can do whatever I need to do to be able to push through and to show them that, we're both here. We're both at the same level. It's not like it used to be. So I think that's the toughest part of trying to get into this, is that it's a different industry. It's a different field. It's not like you're a teacher. There's male teachers, there's women teachers. There's really not a lot of women here. So to just get through that initial, okay, I can do this, and to just go for it, that's what I just recommend. Don't even think about it. Don't even think about, how many men are there and there's no women. Just go for it.
I love that. It actually kind of feels too that you're taking the role of trailblazer. You mentioned that the company is named for your daughters. Well, you're showing them
Hmm.
by example. It's fantastic. I love
Yeah.
it.
Yeah, I have to lead by example. I can't speak on something and not actually be doing it, because I'd be a hypocrite. So I'm like, let me just go for it. If it works, it works. If it doesn't work, then I'll figure something else out. But everybody's that I've come in contact with has been super supportive as well, which has been really helpful. I was in a meeting I don't know, last week one day, and I'm at a lunch, and there's like six guys, and then there's me. So, I already feel like the minority. But I'm like, you know what? I'm not even going to let it show that, I feel a little uncomfortable. So we just went with it. And one of the guys at the end, he turned and he said to me, I have a lot of respect for you for being in this industry and for doing what you're doing. He said, I think that's really awesome. And I left, and I'm like a girl, and I'm like, oh, that was so good to hear. But it really is nice to just kind of get that reassurance that they're starting to understand that, it's difficult to be a woman in today's world regardless, but to put yourself in a situation or a scenario or a role where it's all men, it makes it even more difficult. And to have like that gentleman that I was with recognize that, like, that really felt good to me, and it made me think like, okay, it's all good. Like, it's all good. That was like my moment of just like, great, like, we're good. So
Your seat at the table is ready.
yes.
Okay, lightning round here. You ready?
I'm ready.
Okay, how many years have you been in construction?
Oh, well, I have been in the construction field technically since the day I was born. So 1990. My company started in 2017, and that's really when I started to jump into it.
Sure.
So probably for like consistently the last 4 years
Okay.
that I've seen it on a consistent basis.
So have you ever worked on a site?
I've never physically worked on a site, but I am out on job sites. You know, my boots, my hard hat, my vest, my goggles, everything. So,
What power tool makes you feel unstoppable?
oh, my drill. My drill. I love it. My husband and I are in the process of finishing our basement. So we're doing like the drywall, and I'm like, let me do it. I love it.
I don't want you to answer this one feeling that you're beholden to anybody, but what's your most favorite piece of PPE?
I'm going to say my glasses. My mom has always said to me, you only get one set of eyes.
So true.
But I have to say, from a mom perspective and from a parent perspective, this eye and face region, because it's really important. You only get one set of eyes, and God forbid something happens. And I've seen it where, you know, you're on a job site and I've seen people not use eye protection and they get stuff in their eyes, and it's scary.
Hmm.
It's not like you can just leave and like get up and go right to the hospital. Like you have to flush out your eyes. And
Yes.
so, yeah, I'd have to say that. I know I'm supposed to say vest, but that I
You're
think
not
that's the
supposed
most,
to. I appreciate the
yeah,
answer.
yeah.
When you are on the job, how often are you the only woman in the room or on the site?
Hmm. I'd say there's a couple times in the past couple weeks where I'm finding that there are a couple other women, not necessarily working, but if we're at a meeting with the subcontractors, like there are two or three, maybe not two or three, maybe one or two other PMs when I'm on the site and I'm doing walking through with, you know, owners and stuff. I'm finding it's just really myself, unless somebody else comes through. Like for Children's Hospital, they have, you know, women that are working in the offices or going to be working in the office that we're renovating or something like that, and they'll come walk through. But majority of the time it's really just me and maybe another woman.
Well, thank you for your time today. Victoria Messina of Lead Construction Services. Thanks for being here.
Absolutely, thanks for having me. I'm so glad that we did this.